How are you guys doing today? It's Anthony Gangi, host of Tier Talk, and I want to discuss video visitation. My boy Gary York, who has a YouTube channel, he's the author of Corruption Behind Bars. He also did a video on video visitation, very objective, covered the pros and the cons, and I kind of want to compliment his video. I thought there were some things that I felt I can add. So with both videos, if you guys see both, we kind of got a very good objective view about video visitation, the pros and the cons. Again, if you guys haven't, go check out his channel. It's Gary York, author of Corruption Behind Bars. But I think you could just get it with Gary York. So stand by for my sponsors. I'll come back. We'll have the discussion. And guys, this channel's for you guys. This channel is to talk about concerns that affect those who work in the prison system, affect the front line. So if you guys like the message and like hearing about those concerns that affect us, like, interact, engage, subscribe, and hit that bell. That bell will notify you every time I put a video up. Okay, stand by for our sponsors.
I wanted to attend a university that had an intelligence program. I wanted to look at problems different. I wanted to increase my critical thinking abilities. AMU offered those avenues to expand. Obtaining your degree as an adult, you're actually paying yourself and investing in yourself. You can't put a dollar on it, it's priceless. It's something that can never be taken away from you.
American Military University. Learn from the leader.
Being a corrections officer takes its toll on even the strongest individuals. The constant need to perform at the highest level, putting your life at risk in a hostile environment, and the mental scarring of traumatic experiences. 31% of corrections officers show symptoms of PTSD, and 66% of people with PTSD also suffer with a substance abuse problem. The Transformations First Responders program is specially designed to help veterans and officers heal from the grips of addiction and PTSD in a comfortable, supportive, and serene setting. You are not alone. If you have questions about the services we offer, give us a call at 866-762-8454 to get more information on this affordable and life-changing program.
All right, let's talk about video visitation. It seems to be what's trending, correct? A lot of articles are coming up out of it. Gary York just did an article for The Guardian. He was interviewed by one of their reporters, and basically they're looking at the pros and cons. But you know how they usually have an angle, so it's never really truly objective. It's usually, you know, they have something they want to push. And most likely, I believe there may be some parties that are pushing against video visitation because of the rehabilitative aspect, right? I mean, people are going to say that family needs to have contact, physical contact. That's part of rehabilitation. So when you have video visits, you're limiting the family contact, but physical contact. But I do want to mention something. This is part of the times that we're in. The reason why, I mean, yeah, they're going to say money. Obviously, you know, maybe in some mind this saves money, but we'll get to that. But because of the times we live in, we have to act, in some cases, what may be considered by some extreme. So, I mean, take a look at New Hampshire not too long ago. They had drugs coming into the facility was a concern. 4 overdose, 1 fatal. So they had to act. And they made actions that the public was against, but they had to. And when people were going after the actions that the Department of New Hampshire did, the Department of Corrections out of New Hampshire, you can't go after them. They are reacting to the times that they're being forced into. So that's what always gets me upset, is we're getting mad at the people that have to react, because if they don't react, more lives are going to get hurt. And sometimes the public, they get so focused on the one, but the department itself is focused on the many. So we got to the point where video visitation is not such a bad idea, because it has the potential to eliminate some of the contraband that enters the facility. Again, not all. Inmates could be inventive, could be creative, and then sometimes, unfortunately, we have staff that are foolish, but then again, they're not my brothers and sisters anyway, so I wouldn't even call them staff. The moment you cross that line, you know, you ain't one of us. So it's gotten to that point where video visitation doesn't seem to be a bad idea. I mean, think about it. You know what I mean? It eliminates the chance for contraband to be passed. But again, it seems to be that it should be used for more of a punitive reason. And I do have to look at it from that objective standpoint too. I mean, we want to be objective here. So hear me out on this. You know, if there's an immediate need to go to some form of limited physical contact on a visit, it's because something has happened that caused the facility to say, hey, listen, we got to do something. But with the public push to continue visits, this is a good action, a good way to react. Hey, you want to push for visits? Fine. Well, these are the visits you're going to get until we decide what we need to do, because we're investigating the matter of drugs coming into the facility. So it's an option. It's an option. But to say that we're going to go ahead and make that the only option for visits, the reason why it makes it tough is don't forget, now you're looking at individual monitors, individual places where we can have these video visitations. So that's going to be costly in itself. And God knows what type of company, private companies, are going to try to look to make money by overcharging minutes to any family looking to make a visit with their relative on a video visitation. So, and I want to do things that are correct. I'm not doing things to make a company money because they're looking to get rich. And sometimes that's what you got to watch out for with politics. Politics sometimes aren't in the best interest of the people that need them. It's usually in the best interest of someone who's paying them a couple of bucks to make them some money. So, safety and security wise, I do respect it. But again, for me, it'd be more of a punitive thing. So even if you have an inmate that gets caught with drugs, I would go right back and say, you know what, we have zero tolerance on that. Now, when you do your sanction for the charge you're being given, and then when you're let out of that sanction, I'm sorry, man, but your visits are now going to be non-contact only, and that should stay for quite some time. Because you got to realize some inmates could do a year on their head, so there's got to be some repercussion for them related to trying to bring drugs into the facility. And this kind of doesn't generalize that punishment, if you will. So if you have inmates that are doing the right thing and don't ever get charges related to drugs or whatnot, you don't want to punish them and not give them a chance to have some physical contact with their family. But again, you got to worry about inmates that are going to use them during a visit, to smuggle in contraband. Because unfortunately, we work in a very weird, the inmates can be very inventive. It's a very dangerous world. So you have to kind of look at all angles. But again, I think video visitation should be more punitive. I would like to say that I think it's in the best interest money-wise, because you're going to save money on staff, but we're not looking to do that, guys. Right now, facilities are so understaffed as it is. So we're looking to get more staff. So I'm not even going to talk about that side of the argument. But the amount of money you're going to spend to open these booths, open up the monitors, that's got to be costly. And I just don't think in the long run it's going to be worth the money. And then you're going to have companies that are going to rip the inmates' families off. Trust me, $12.99, $13.99 for a minute. Each minute they're talking to their family. Who can afford that? So rehabilitation is also about having that connection with the family. We know that. And our facility would do whatever we can to facilitate that. But I would like to say that for those who are looking to cross into video visitation, I would utilize it if it's a desperate act on our end, because we have to get it done. So if we have inmates that are smuggling in drugs and we can't find out where the source is, then that could be a recourse, if we need to, if there's pressure from the public. I'd rather lock it down as long as we can until we discover what the issue is, but that's not reality nowadays. Reality is, we're very limited into how long we keep those inmates locked down before we start getting pressure from the families and the lawyers, ACLU. So, this would be a good option. Hey, they're getting visits. Sure, it's not contact visits, but right now we have an issue. We're trying to figure out what it is. So we can implement this, and this is what we can get. It should be enough to buy us some time to really do a thorough investigation and find out how the drugs are coming in. But for inmates that, again, if they're not caught up in this generalization of punishment here, again, if we can't identify what the issue is, but now we're looking at individuals who break the rules. Video visitation, I'd rather have it meant just for them. If they break the rules, this is what it is. And I would like that time to be rather lengthy. Listen, you bring drugs in our facility, I know you got to get visits potentially. That's they're going to give you the visits. Well, guess what? They're going to be non-contact visits for a few years. Well, does that seem extreme? Mm-hmm. It's going to be extreme. But hopefully that extreme will deter others from doing the same thing. They're using their family to smuggle in drugs. So when people get mad because we're making these actions, or that one inmate fight saying, hey, I've been sentenced to 3 years and I've only done this once, it doesn't matter. You knew what the outcome was. you knew what the consequence was, and you still did it. Now you only want to bitch and moan because you got caught. It doesn't work that way. Now you got to go through the punishment, and we have to be consistent with that punishment. Trust me, because if we're not, no one's going to buy into what we're trying to do at all. So again, I do like the idea of video visitation, but I don't like it generalized out. I like the fact that it's utilized if we need it on an immediate level. After, the public starts pushing us to get visits. Okay, fine, you want visits? We're still investigating this. But in the meantime, we could do visits this way, very controlled, obviously very limited based on space, until it gives us a chance to do the investigation properly, because the public will push us to open the doors, and then they won't be held responsible if another inmate dies because the investigation wasn't complete. They'll still hold us responsible. So hopefully, if we have weak leadership that won't keep those doors shut, at least this gives them the option. Okay, you know what? You're weak. You're not going to keep the door shut, but here's what you're going to do. You're going to go to video visitation, and until we find out how these drugs are getting in. It's sort of like a zero tolerance, if you will. And for inmates that break that rule, I would like to say indefinitely. I'm sorry, man. Utilize your visits. Utilize your family time to smuggle in drugs. But we have to be honest. We have to look at the times that we're in. So there's going to have to be some compromise here. I would like to say 100% sorry, man. You lost your chance at ever getting a physical contact visit again. But truthfully, that's never going to happen. So can we make it lengthy? Yeah, why not? There's nothing wrong with that. Let's make it lengthy. And if they want to get those contact visits back, you better take a program that deals with whatever that concern was. So if you're smuggling in drugs, you better take a program that deals with criminal behavior, or if you're addicted, that deals with addiction, and I better see a completion. I better see something. And then you still have to be a certain amount of years charge-free. So it's not a give me. You messed up. But now, this is the outcome. You want your visits back, contact visits. I want a certain amount of time charge-free. I want you to take a program to address whatever it was. And that deals with cell phones, too. Electronics. Doesn't change. You better be a certain amount of time charge-free. And again, it's not going to be guaranteed. There'll be some discretion from administration. But again, you have to it has to be lengthy. You have to be consistent with the punishment. So if you kind of make it all video visitation, you're going to have the rehabilitation, which again, it doesn't supersede safety and security, but we have to be honest with where we're headed today. Are we going to push for things that just are not going to be accepted? And there's really not much we can do about it. So what we need to do is kind of push for that compromise, because it's not all or nothing for us, guys. You got to realize that we're losing out on every all or nothing battle. But if we start talking about the compromise and start trying to make things work, this is an effort to make that compromise. And that would work, because how can people not agree with that? How do you not agree with that? So again, video visitation, pros and cons. We're dealing with an age of rehabilitation. So, we have to kind of open up to those options. We can't just shut the door. And the people that are going to argue against what we do, we need to prepare for that argument. So therefore, that's where the compromise comes in. Now it's harder for them to stand their ground because we met somewhere in the middle. Now you're going to the extreme. So in an effort to protect the facility, I think it's a good route when needed. Or if individuals cross the line, sorry, brother, you're beat. But to make it a permanent thing, I don't think it's going to save money. I think it's going to be costly for the families, and I think there's going to be some companies that are looking to make money off this, and they're going to make millions of dollars. And I just don't like selling out. That's the key. As always, guys, I love you guys. Please subscribe, interact, engage. Feel free to comment your thoughts on video visitation below. And as always, stay safe, guys. I love you.